Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the DTM Trophy finale here at Hockenheim for 2022. It's the first chance of any points being scored of the weekend. It's qualifying one for race number one, of course. Tim Heinemann leads the championship by 50 points. And there is a possible of 58 points up for grabs this weekend. So all he needs really is a P6 in one of the races, and he is absolutely guaranteed the championship. So it really is as simple as that for him. What Colin Carasani needs to do, he needs to get P1, hope that Tim Heinemann does indeed not finish either race and get a bonus point, either a fastest lap or a qualifying point by qualifying P1, P2, or indeed P3. Right, there's the housework out of the way. Now it's time for the drivers to go out there and produce their best times. If that wasn't enough, we also have 7 guest drivers on the grid. So it makes our grid up to a total of 24, which is incredible. It was supposed to be 25, but unfortunately Mikhail Batamba not able to race this weekend, which is a huge shame. Yeah, it's been a privilege for him to race this season, or for me to watch him race this season. Hopefully we get to see him back in the near future. But yeah, 24 cars on the grid, 18 minutes left of the session, and well, plenty of cars are indeed out there on the circuit. In terms of guest drivers, we've got Andronako, who is racing in a Porsche for Allied Racing. We also have Litvinenko, also for Allied Racing, in another Porsche. Their Porsches are blue, a very light blue with a little bit of green. The difference between the two of them is Andronako's got his name in red and white on the front bonnet, so that's how you tell the difference. We then indeed have ourselves Lucas Maron for CV Performance. He is in a white, black and gold car. We've got Nico Gruber in the CV Performance team as well. He is in a blue, black, and white car. They all look very similar, but apart from the one colour change. And then Philip Denez, who's in the purple, black, and white CV Performance Mercedes as well. There's Teo Overhaus, the youngest ever DTM driver, youngest ever DTM race leader, youngest ever DTM Trophy winner. Yes, Teo Overhaus. The future is bright for that young man. And then we've got Knopp, Joseph Knopp, who was quickest yesterday in the second free practice session. So should be very interesting today. Absolutely anything can happen, and with DTM Trophy, it normally does. So get excited. We're in for an absolute cracker for sure. If you're watching across the world on YouTube or even on television, you can absolutely get yourselves involved on social media at ActroVision on Twitter or indeed Instagram. Send me a message if it's outside of the broadcast schedule and you've got any questions, then absolutely ask me before the race happens. Today I'll try and get back to you, but get yourselves involved in the chat. Let me know where you're watching from around the world and who you might be supporting. Maybe you're just tuning in for the first ever time, and wow, this is a chance to find your favorite driver. Maybe it's a favorite color car that's out there on circuit. Everybody finishing their second warm-up laps. It normally takes 2 or 3 laps to get the tires into a decent temperature range. Then they bring the cars in around about 10 minutes to go in the session and just do some final checks, and then they go back out. They will have got themselves 2 fresh set of tires to use this weekend, so they would have bolted them on for qualifying this morning, and they will indeed use the same tires for the race, unless they've been saving them over the course of the season. But yes, indeed, it will be one set used throughout today. There is the championship leader then, Tim Heinemann, as he momentarily goes P1, but then Colin Carasani takes that P1 away. Again, the times will be a lot shorter than that, a lot lower than that by the time this session is over. But Carasani stalking the championship leader here. It's not a bad place to be in, actually, if you're Colin. You've got your direct championship rival in front of you. Maybe get into a slipstream and go, well, as fast as you're going, I know that I might be able to go just a little bit faster by being in your toe. A little bit too far behind, I would say, for that, but who knows. So we've got Travis then supporting Ricky Capo. Who else have we got going in? Well, lots of Ricky Capo fans in the chat today. Very well supported driver, that's for sure. Got Ricky's dad watching as well. Got to meet him last time out of the Red Bull Ring. Lovely chap. So we're on board then with Colin Carasani. Tim Heinemann, who's just gone purple through sector number 1. Carasani's about 0.2 of a second off of his pace. So yeah, Tim starting to turn that screw. The inaugural champion, of course, in 2020. And he won it with 4 races to go. Last season, he did race at the start of the DTM Trophy, did Tim Heinemann. Yeah, less said about the last season, the better, I would say. Was pulled out of the championship about 4 races in. And while this season, full schedule for Tim. has given himself a 50-point lead going into the final 2 races. He's done the hard work. It's all now about making sure that he sees the job through. And as it stands, he's purple, about to cross the line, and he's about to go provisional pole. And it is going to be by quite the margin here. 49.838. Again, I still think there's a lot more time out there. Sector 3, not really the quickest in the world, actually, from Tim Heineman. But he is a full second clear of Karasani. Karasani, I think, has just brought the car into the pits, though. So, yeah, Karasani maybe has found something that he wants to change, because the car does indeed come into the pits. Skolde supporting Tim Heineman, of course. So Tim's got a fair few fans himself in that Toyota Gazoo Racing Germany, powered by Ring Racing. It will be, if he does win the championship, be the longest team name in history to win a Drivers' Championship. They're the longest team name in history of motorsport in itself. What a long name it is. Car 85 just had a cancellation of their lap time. So that is Philip Denez, the American from Hungary. It's Hungarian-American in the CV Performance car. Number 85, so yet to put a lap time in. The RTR Project's Joseph Knopp, currently in P24, yet to put time in as well. Thiago Vivacqua goes fastest then by 7/10 of a second. It's by a huge margin. So the Audi driver with a 49.1. And again, we are going to see these times tumble. Jacob Riegel had a very wry smile on his face yesterday after practice. I think he's the dark horse today. I think he's got a lot of pace. Nick Hanker, unfortunately, had a problem with his rear axle that was caused last week in a GTC championship with a different driver. So, yeah, he wasn't too pleased with that, but they've got the car out there. It's all fixed, so it's all good. But Jacob Riegel, as Nick Hanker actually goes second. Riegel across the line goes fastest by 8/10 again. So we're into the 48s now. Low 48s as well. And Jacob Riegel potentially has every reason to be smiling. Is there something he's found that nobody else knows about? That's the question. In terms of the guest drivers, JP Southern is the lead driver. Of course, he did race in the first half of this season. Got injured at the Norris ring with his shoulder, had to have an operation. It has fully recovered. He's in P8. Lucas Maurer on P10. Of course, he's another returning driver. He's got himself 5 wins in DTM Trophy history. But everyone else has yet to put a lap time in, so times will start to come down. Knopp then just puts in a 2:02 again, about 14 seconds off the pace, so nothing too crazy to write home about. As Thiago Vivacqua did go purple through the first sector, but now Jacob Riegel's retaken that purple. So I did wonder, Riegel yesterday it was a very cheeky smile. I was speaking to him and I said, "Oh, you found a bit of pace today," and he just smiled at me. Wasn't really much of a response. And that's very unlike Jacob. Jacob is quite a shy lad. Doesn't tend to have any of those mannerisms where it's like a cheeky little smile or he knows something that I don't kind of deal. But yesterday definitely was something there. And now we might be starting to see what's occurring here. It's Thiago Vivacqua having to go around the outside of Moritz Lohner here. Wow, okay. Moritz. Not sure what's going on there. Luckily, everyone is okay. But here is Jacob Riegel then. Purple through sector 1. Green through sector number 2. And there's the Aston Martin about to go even faster. Across the line there will go. And it is a 48.3 as it stands. Now it's a 47.8, a full second clear of everyone. And wow, I think the telltale sign in here is that Nick Hanker is also in second spot. Heading towards the halfway point of this session. And well, this is very interesting indeed. Hoffman now green through sector number 1 as well as Litvinenko. JP Southern also green through sector number 1. That was a very close call. The tyres that these drivers are using are Hankook tyres. So they get 2 sets per weekend. So in practice, you'll notice that the times are a little bit slower than what you see on a Saturday and Sunday. It's because they're on old tyres. So here we go to 9 minutes, 50 seconds to go. Anyone going purple? Well, yes, there is. Taya Uverhaus has found a purple middle sector here. Although it looks like it is a track limits infringement as well through sector number 1. So that time was deleted. Ricky Capo going green here through sector 1 and sector 2. Coming around the final sector then for Ricky Capo. Mark to Fulgencia is going slow in the final sector as well, trying to find some space on the circuit to indeed work with. Nick Hanker is very slow middle sector, actually. Went quicker through the first sector. Teo Uverhaus now, though, has just gone purple through sector number 1. So watch out for the Volkenhorst Motorsport driver, because he is flying, as JP Southern now goes up to a P5. We've then got Ricky Capo up to a top 5 now as well. Still a 1 second advantage, though, for Regal over absolutely everybody. Regal and Hanker, the 2 Aston Martins, they're both in the pits now with 8 minutes 50 seconds left on the clock. Very interesting indeed. Keep an eye on Teo Uverhaus then. Absolutely flying here. He's got some traffic to indeed deal with. That's Lucas Mauron just a little bit further up the road. Here's Green through sector number 2. It's not the quickest sector by any stretch of the imagination from everybody, and actually it will be good enough only for P2 as it stands. Flashing the lights here, finding the grip around the outside of the corner. And Will Teo Uverhaus, who's, you know, self-proclaimed not the best qualifier in the world, has got a pole position this year, but it was in changeable conditions at Spa. But is there the opportunity here for Teo Uverhaus to put himself on the front row and give himself an opportunity at being where he needs to be? A flash of the lights once again. Across the line he will indeed go. And Teo Uverhaus' lap is not going to count by the looks of things. Oh, no, there we go. P2. So it took a while to update, but he's up to P2. 2/10 then off of Jacob Regal. Regal, though, still the driver to beat. Tim Heinemann, P9 right now. Still ahead of Karasani, who's only in P11. Karasani effectively needs to get into that top 3. Has to be in that top 3, really, just to get a bonus point on the board. Put it to within 50 points, I think, is the way of going forward here. Across the line there for Eduard Kauhalper, who moves up the order. Daniel Gregor up to P5 now, 1 second off of Jacob Regal's time. Papadopoulos across the line in P14. Still needs to find a bit more. JP Southern across the line. We'll need to find a little bit more there. Capo just came across the line, but doesn't look like his lap time is going to count. Although, no, it does. So P4, actually. So the sector's then just taking their time to come through, the race director. So P4 then for Ricky Capo, second row of the grid. And with 7 minutes to go, I'm not sure we're going to see too many cars coming back into the pits now. I think it's just all or nothing at this stage. It's Andronacco for the Allied Racing Team. Moves up into second position then. So the guest start for Andronacco up to second position. So that's the first real fast time we've seen from one of our guest drivers. Karasani's about to go green here. He is green. Over the line, Karasani will go. Where are you going to end up, though? It is good enough for... And again, I'm not sure. This was 17th right now, but then it's P4, so it's taking its time. We're taking its time. It's the race director, unfortunately. So the timing having a little bit of an issue there. But up to P4 then for Karasani. It's just needs one more position, basically, to just close that gap on Heinemann. Heinemann down to P16. So Tim, who we know will fire a time in at the end here, and more than likely will be in within striking distance of a race win. That's how good he is. He's got plenty of time to do so. 6 minutes to go. Yeah, track limits around here. If you keep 2 wheels on the curb, which is pretty much standard these days, if you keep 2 wheels on the colouring of the curb, you're pretty good to go. So that's pretty standard these days. So yeah, pretty standard. Right, Jacob Regal on an outlap. Back out then. 5 minutes to go. This is where you earn the bacon now. 3 points for P1. It is 2 points for P2. And then it is 1 point for P3. If you've not already got yourself your notifications turned on for the stream on YouTube later on, you should absolutely do so. If you're watching on television right now, it'll be on the same channel. It'll be at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon UK time, local time, so European time, about 3 p.m. If you're watching over in America, it will be around about 9 a.m. Eastern time. So people now starting to come across the line. Gruber, who was fastest in free practice 1, goes up to P14. The gaps will come down. Andronacco now only 0.08 of a second behind Jacob Regal. Can Regal find anything else? In DTM qualifying that happened just before this, the track really got to a point where it just didn't improve. Only a couple of people were actually finding those lap times near the end, as Tim Heinemann is currently P20. Has just gone across the line. and it still will be P20. If he starts down in P20, he's also got a grid penalty. 9 drivers do have grid penalties here as well. It's better just not to mention it, to be honest, right now, and then just see the grid later on, because there are that many penalties. But yeah, Tim Heineman, maybe in a little bit of trouble here, because Karasani, we know what he's like in a race. He's an absolute monster in a race. And he's actually green through sector number 1. We've had some drama in the DTM Trophy. It went down to the wire last year. It was 1 point separating 2 drivers going into the final race of the season. And is Karasani about to find something here and potentially take us to that final race? As I say that, though, Tim Heineman's just gone purple through sector number 1. And that's been taken away from him straight away, though. So someone else has just gone purple as well. Moritz Lohner green through the middle sector. Tim Heineman then coming through towards the end of sector number 2 through the S's. Sweeping right-hander here. And actually, it's now Eduard Kauhalper who's gone purple through sector number 1. And there we go, cutting the timing beam. And it's, again, a green sector here, so it's an improvement, but he's down in P21. He's currently 2 seconds off of Jacob Riegel's time. Colin Karasani's finding improvement here as well, but he's got a... No, that's Theo Uverhaus. Theo Uverhaus got a track limits infringement, but Colin Karasani is flying as well. So there is Colin Karasani. Is there the opportunity here to pile the pressure on? Can he make it within 50 points before we get into the race? Well, he goes P3. So that's 1 point as it stands. Tim Heineman, currently P21, comes across the line for him. And where is Tim going to end up here? Well, he's now P3. So, yeah, what you can do, Colin, I can do better. Moves up to P3 himself. The gap between the two of them is absolutely nothing. It's 0.03 of a second. The ball is now in Colin Karasani's court. Heineman will have the grid penalty. Colin Karasani does not have a grid penalty. So Colin would effectively still start ahead of Tim, but Tim is going to gain a point here and make it a 51-point advantage going into the race. Oh, this is going to be interesting. Still 2 minutes, 20 seconds to go. Joseph Knopp, who was quickest yesterday, is going purple through sector number 1. Lewis Henkefen, green through sector 1. And indeed, grey through sector number 2. Across the line then for Henkefen is P7. Now for the Project 1 driver. 2 Project 1 drivers up to the top 7. Can Lewis help his teammate this weekend? Take it to the Toyota Gazoo Racing Germany, powered by Ring Racing Team, with Tim Heineman. Still Riegel, by the way. It's P1. No one's really closing that gap. Again, it is Joseph Knopp who is purple through sector number 1. Waiting for him to come through sector number 2 as Almeida runs off circuit. That will indeed be a track limits violation, and that lap time will be taken away. Is green as it stands, grey through the middle sector, and across the line Almeida will go, and I'm not sure that time is going to count anyway. So what about Joseph Knopp? Knopp's the driver we need to be watching out for. He's absolutely flying here. 1 minute, 20 seconds to go as it stands. So yeah, Andrew Narco was going, well, not that much quicker actually, but he's got a track limits violation in second position himself. Tim Heineman is, well, coming across the line now. And actually, the sector times, it's a very good sector number 3. It's not a great sector 1 or 2, but it's good enough for a front row start. Karasani's done. So Karasani's in the pits here, ladies and gentlemen, and he is done. So as it stands, he's going to get 1 point for qualifying, but Tim's going to get 2. And wow, that is a minimum here. So Karasani could be taken out of this and not be in that front 3 by the end of this session. Tim Heineman's still out there. Jacob Riegel, it's looking like he's going to take all 3 points here, as more drivers are indeed coming across the line. Philip Denez up to P11 as it stands. And the championship lead, if it is to stay as it is in qualifying right now, it would be Tim Heineman leading by 51 points. So it means that Heineman would have to DNF twice, and now Karasani has to win twice, but also get 2 bonus points somewhere. So it's becoming a little bit more difficult here as Henkefen actually now moves up to P4. So the Project 1 team have got 2 drivers now in the top 4. And how vital will that be as Hoffman is facing the wrong way there? I'm not sure how much that would have affected Tim Heineman. That definitely would have puckered him up, though, for sure. And I don't think he's going any quicker anyway here, to be honest. So through the left hand. Is the curb and the inside unsettled, or do we run wide here? Oh, yeah, run wide. Tried to overcorrect it, unfortunately. And then the rear just wants to step around. Yeah, Heineman there avoiding that. Thiago Vivacqua in the pits, did go purple. And actually, as a checker flag has indeed come down now, Jacob Riegel, I think, might have this. I think Jacob Riegel might indeed have pole position here. Trying to look for Joseph Knopp here, currently in P9, green through sector 1, it's grey through sector number 2, he's 8/10 off, he'd have to be a worldie of a final sector. And well, as the checkered flag does come out, Knopp comes across the line. And is there any improvement here? No, there's not. Checker flag comes down. No one else is really on a fast lap, if we're honest here. And I tell you what, Jacob Riegel, he had a wry smile on his face yesterday. And well, the reason why is because he knows he's got pace here at Hockenheim. And while he is going to start at the sharp end, or indeed he has got pole position. Heinemann's second is the biggest factor here really in terms of our championship, because it means that he indeed gains a point on Karasani as well. Daniel Gregor has a trip off into the gravel there, building some sandcastles. That is not ideal right before a race. And well, this is not going to be an improvement on a lap time either. But yes, Tim Heinemann, who is stopped now and done, off the circuit they go, will start, or has indeed got second position and 2 points, as Gregor then just runs off there. Cool, that could have been worse there. Very lucky, actually. But in terms of our championship, then, Heinemann is going to extend the lead by 1 point. It's going to be 51 points heading into race number 1. Colin Karasani does start in the top 3 and will start ahead of Tim because of grid penalties. It is fascinating here. Can Karasani provide us with one more weekend of magic? This is going to be very exciting indeed. So yeah, we're seeing once again here Daniel Gregor making a mistake here and running off. Or this is afterwards, actually. You can see that the dust is all over the tyres. And that's not really the last thing you want. You see there he's, I don't know whether he's trying to scratch his head there or not, but kind of sort of not an ideal thing here. Here's the official results then. And well, Jacob Riegel takes pole position for Speed Monkeys. Tim Heinemann in second position. Karasani in third. Henkefend is in fourth position. Kauhalper, Almeida are your third row. Gruber and Knopp, fourth row. Fulgencio and Dinez are on your fifth row for this afternoon's race. Then we've got the next 10, Nick Hanke and Vivacqua. We've got Gregor and Capo, Hoffman and Lohner, Southern and Litvinenko as indeed your top 18. We've then got Papadopoulos and Uverhouse as your top 20. Make sure you tune in for later on for race 1 of the final weekend of the DTM Trophy 2022.